This is Umar for BoxNation, live in Riyadh. Is Riyadh season and Eddie Hearn's first appearance on BoxNation.
Oh, who would have thought that many years ago? Just shows you how the boxing world's changed. Welcome, congratulations. Looking forward to a big night on Friday in Riyadh this week.
Absolutely, yeah. Anthony Joshua and Frank Smith and yourself all within, 32 hours of the relaunch of BoxNation, rather.
It was a good week to do it.
Absolutely.
You've got some big names and, I think what we're seeing out here, quite incredible. The grand arrivals last night, just every time, mind-blowing. The whole place.
How are you still alive?
After?
Well, going from States to
Oh, right,
here.
yeah. I don't know. By training, I'm training twice a day. I just got up after doing that dweeb passing and walked over here, and on my back and everything's in bits. So, I don't know. I love what I do. Saturday was magical with Ray Ford. And obviously this week's a massive week with AJ, Justice Honey, Israel Madrimov, but of course the main man AJ in a tough ask, but a fight I believe he's going to win and continue this great journey that he's on that seems to be gathering real momentum.
Let's just touch on Ray Ford. I don't want to forget that because it's a big moment for you as stable. Another world champion added to the roster. And we saw the emotion from yourself on that night. You were absolutely buzzing with that.
Yeah. It's like an away day. I think the best way you can describe it is, say your football team goes up and it's like a championship club and you're up against a Premier League team. Most people don't think you can win, but you know you've got a great chance. And then to score the winner in injury time, which was pretty much what he did, 7 seconds to go in the fight, needing a stoppage to come from behind. It's a magical moment. And again, for us, building fighters is important, especially in new markets, and that was the first time we had an opportunity for one of our signings from turning professional to get the World Championship, and he's our first one in America. So, yeah, it was special, and it was on a top-ranked card, and top-ranked signed Komatov, and they won the purse bid, and Carl Moretti was giving me a load of stick. So it was just a beautiful night, and, getting on the plane makes it a lot easier to get on that 13-hour, 14-hour trip here. But we're lucky. I love boxing, and that was an amazing night, and we're very lucky to be here.
Well, you said you could have walked to Saudi from the
States. I could have. That's how I felt. Honestly, I was absolutely buzzing. And listen, if we would have lost, it would have been a brutal trip. But the great nights don't come around very often. But that was right up there.
Well, Nick Ball's in action this Friday
definitely.
night and challenging for the world title against Ray Vargas. I saw your comments. If Nick does come through this Friday, you want to make Ball v Ford, maybe on the 5v5?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, great fight, Ball against Vargas. I made that fight with George, actually, and Louis de Cubas. And we were talking about Nick Ball against Josh Warrington, but I think Josh is going to move up to super feather, and that opens the door, obviously, with Ray's victory, for a quick unification for both. I mean, how often does it happen that two guys win a world championship within a week of each other, and then unify, 10 or 11 weeks later? So Nick's got a tough, I actually quite fancy him in the fight, but a lot of people, from America, PBC guys just think, nah, Ray Vargas is going to school him. So I'm looking forward to that.
He's been up to super featherweight recently, come back down.
Yeah, he's a big lump, Vargas. Nick's tiny. It was the first time I really met him last night, but he's a strong boy, all action. It's a great fight, but if he comes through, definite potential for the 5v5, big unification, Nick Ball against Ray Ford.
Okay, let's talk about the main man, Anthony Joshua. Everyone questions his mentality all the time, but from what I've seen, he does look like in a good place. Obviously, gelling with Ben Davison in the Performance Centre more, coming off a very good win against Otto Wallin. So, from your perspective, is he in a good place?
I think, arguably the best place in his career. People talking about is the old AJ back. Yeah, but it's the old AJ with a lot of attributes that he's built along the way. More seasoned championship fighter that can go rounds, better defence, better footwork. But it's just with him, when people talk about that aggression, that really comes from his confidence of believing in what he's doing, believing in the game plan. And that's what Ben and Lee do the best. They break down the data, they make sure you can ingest it and understand it. And I've always said, when AJ has the right game plan and when he understands how to execute it, I think he's unbeatable. And Ngannou, it's a tricky task really, because you don't have that much data to ingest. You have 10 rounds. And, Fury had none, really. So that's the biggest challenge, I think, is making sure that you overcome what Ngannou brings. And you've got to think that Ngannou's going to be better than he was in the Fury fight, because I think his confidence, although he seems like a very confident individual, will be through the roof after that Tyson Fury fight. And I think he truly believes he can beat Anthony Joshua.
Speaking to some of Tyson's team are obviously out here, and they were talking about the Ngannou fight, and they said just before Tyson got dropped, he cracked him with a 1-2, and he said normally Tyson would put a dent in someone or they'd get a reaction. And Ngannou, all he did was take it, it just bounced off him and threw the left hook and dropped him. So that's quite a scary thought.
Yeah, and that is also an interesting dynamic to the fight. How good is Ngannou's chin? I think the answer is good, but how good? And Anthony's a different kind of puncher to Tyson Fury. But if he can take his shots, it's going to be difficult. But also, Ngannou will gas. You know, there was often times in the Fury fight that he looked like he was ready to gas. And being an MMA fighter, I just don't think you can do the 10 threes at a fast pace. It's not something you can just learn in a camp. But to force the pace and to make it a higher level fight, you've got to take chances and you've got to be aggressive. So it's going to be really interesting to see who the aggressor is in this fight, because I guess Ngannou's team will want him to be aggressive. But if he does, he's going to get met with, speed and accuracy from AJ, but at the same time, you want AJ to be aggressive. But that brings its own danger as well.
In terms of the broadcast, we know DAZN worldwide, and of course in the UK as well, specifically for this. Sky Sports box office have got the rights as well in the UK. Now, I know these decisions are out of your control with the Saudis and His Excellency, of course. But just with Sky box office carrying that in the UK, how did DAZN feel about that, Eddie? Yeah,
good. I mean, I think ultimately His Excellency wants the fight to be on as many platforms as possible. I mean, you saw the Day of Reckoning on TNT and DAZN. This one's on DAZN and Sky Sports. But then it brings in the other benefit of DAZN of Fury Usyk being on DAZN in the UK. And they have neither fighter. So I guess it's all in the deal, isn't it? And, we've let Sky Sports, or His Excellency has, and DAZN have on board, because AJ's exclusive to DAZN. But in return, DAZN have got Fury Usyk, which is the undisputed heavyweight fight. So, when you look at DAZN's schedule, it's unrivaled, really. And, I think everybody's happy. And everybody's happy that we're seeing the big fights.
That's good to hear. Just talking about Joshua's mental state, Froch on fighting. Carl Froch put out a video, and on the thumbnail it said, Joshua's mentally fragile. Thoughts?
Yeah, Carl's, his little Froch on fighting is doing some
good numbers.
Yeah, I like it, actually. Look, Carl's a very bright guy. He knows boxing inside out. And I think that AJ's definitely not mentally fragile, but he is a guy that is a smart guy, and you can't bluff him. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's like in the Usyk fight, you can't just say to AJ, stick it on him. Like the amount of people that said all he had to do was stick it on him. It doesn't work like that. When you're fighting a southpaw as skilled as Usyk, you need the right game plan. You need to understand it, and I don't think he did. So he's not that he's mentally fragile. He's actually mentally quite strong. But he needs to get it. He needs to understand. And when he does, he's mentally very strong in those fights. And that's the position he's in now. So I think maybe he's been mentally weak in a few fights where he just didn't really believe in what he was doing. And I think that's the same as everyone. So I think, Anthony Joshua has made the ex-fighters, the public, pundits, the most opinionated they've ever been in the history of British boxing. And everyone seems to have an opinion on AJ. And look at one fight against Otto Wilding. Now he's superhuman again. Oh, he's back. He'll beat Fury. I mean, they were writing him off after Franklin and Helenia. So they're very fickle. We all are. But if he can do a job on Ngannou, you'll be surprised the amount of people that will be making him a favourite against Tyson Fury.
Well, just on that note, speaking to DAZN, I'm sure you saw these comments from Anthony. If I put Fury on his arse, I wouldn't let him get up. Me and Fury are completely different beasts, genetically, strength, mindset. I was boxing Fury up in the amateurs when he used to come down to Finchley. I've always been on a different trajectory to Fury. He's done well, of course. He's done very well. But give me an opportunity to fight Fury, and I'll show you what I'm all about. Confident words.
Listen, it's no point me saying AJ beats Fury, because I've always believed it. I believe it now more than ever. He is right though. If Ngannou never jumped on Tyson Fury, and that tells me a lot about him. because he should have walked him down at the end of that round. He should have walked him down the round after, and he let him survive. And if AJ dropped Tyson Fury like that, he wouldn't survive. Fact. But it's kind of irrelevant, really. Like, one day I believe they'll fight, and then we'll see. But what we've got to do is take care of business on Friday.
Yeah, let's talk about the rest of the card. Zhang Parker, your thoughts on that? I know you've got neither guy in there.
Great fight. I mean, exactly the kind of fights we want to see. Good to see two guys coming off big wins. You know, obviously Zhang beating Joe Joyce, Parker with a massive win against Deontay Wilder. I think Parker's the favourite in that fight. I think he looks sensational. Joseph Parker looks so well. Zhang is a good fighter. I think the Joe Joyce victories were a little bit glamorising of him, but a good style for him. Parker's not a good style for him. Shorter, faster, in and out, good power as well. I actually think Joseph can stop him late on if he's active enough in the fight. But dangerous fight, really good fight. Nick Ball against Ray Vargas, we touched on. Look out for Madrimov against Kurbanov. Absolute all-out war. It's going to be fantastic to watch. Justice Huni against Lorena. What else we got? Mark Chamberlain against Gavin Gwynn. Good British title dust-up as well. Really good night of boxing, top to bottom.
It's great to see some of these guys that you mentioned that really, at this point, probably shouldn't be on the stage they're at, but because of his Excellency Riyadh season, they're getting his
Mark
opportunities.
Chamberlain, a great example.
Yeah.
I mean, Mark Chamberlain was a guy that His Excellency went, I want him on the card. And we were like, I was sitting there with Frank Warren at the time, and we were like, what? We actually FaceTimed Mark Chamberlain straight after. And I think he was like, oh, I'm busy at the moment, I have to call you back. And Frank was like, no, you ain't busy. So what a chance for him. And well done, Gavin Gwynn, lovely bloke. Yeah. He's given everything to the sport, and now getting a big payday and the opportunity to buy it on a massive platform.
Absolutely. What is going on with Dalton Smith and Adam Azim?
They're pulling him out of the fight.
Yeah?
We've been told they're pulling him out of the fight, but they just won't do it. It's so painful. Like, you know, Frank Smith spoke to Ben Shalom, who told him, we're not taking the fight.
Any reason?
We'll do it later, but it's not next. It has to be next. It's been ordered. So pull him out of the fight. Like, they willy-nilly, and the longer it goes on, the more embarrassing it's going to be for Adam Azim, who's a great young fighter, by the way. And there's no shame in saying we're not ready for Dalton Smith. There's no shame in saying Dalton Smith's too good to face for us at this moment in our career. But don't call out Keyshawn Davis at Wembley and Teofimo Lopez and all these people. Just stop wasting our time and pull out the fight. And then it can all be over. But I don't know what they're doing.
So what was the reason?
They're not ready.
Is that it?
Yeah. I mean, basically they need more fights. That's fine. I agree with them, right? Adam Azim's not good enough yet to take the chance to fight Dalton Smith and beat him. He might be in the future. But I don't know what the weight is. Why mess around with Dalton Smith? Dalton Smith's got a massive fight March 23rd against Zepeda, who's a world-level fighter. So all this talk, I don't know what, and they say, we're trying to use Adam Azim's name. I think they're trying to use Dalton Smith's name. Because why do you want to hang around in a fight you're not going to participate in? So stop messing around and pull out of the fight. Well, you already told us you're not fighting him. So why lie to the public? It's even worse.
What do you do with Dalton then if he
go
does
and
come
fight
through?
a world-level fight? Dalton's a world-class 140-pounder. And if he beats Zepeda, he's ready for all those guys. The guys that we've got. Regis Prograis.
Yeah.
Liam Paro. Richardson Hitchens on the verge of a world title. Subriel Matias we've got. I mean, he's a beast. But what do you do when you beat Zepeda? Adam Azim's a massive step back for us. But we'll do it because we win the fight, and it's a massive domestic fight that the fans would love. That's why we do it. But they won't do it. So get out of the way, and we'll take care of the real stuff that Dalton Smith's ready for if he beats Zepeda on March 23rd.
Do you think someone like a Regis Prograis would take the fight?
Yeah, for money's right. That's a big fight. And, he could fight the loser of Taylor Catterall, could fight the winner of Taylor Catterall. Dalton's ready for those guys if he comes through Zepeda. Okay.
Not your fighter, Ryan Garcia, but obviously you've got Devin Haney involved with this fight that's coming up. A bit concerned?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Devin, I'm training. It's hard training when you're probably thinking this guy's not going to be ready for April 20th. I know they talk about his trolling and all that kind of stuff, but his behaviour's erratic. And he's not behaving like Ryan Garcia. So that's a concern. But it's a concern for the people around him who've got to make that decision. The family, Golden Boy Promotions, You have to be 100% going into this fight. Can you honestly look yourself in the mirror and say, physically and mentally, Ryan Garcia is 100% for April 20th? Like, so, you know, I hope he's in the fight, and it's a great fight, but the way he's behaving, and I saw his brother's comments this morning as well, who was saying, he said, I'm really concerned about my brother, you know, pray for him. So that obviously people around him know, but you've got to look after this kid. I hope people don't just think about the money and look after the well-being of Ryan Garcia.
What do you make of the whole dynamic with him and Bernard Hopkins, Oscar De La Hoya, like the dynamic with Golden Boy?
I mean, look, they get on and then they don't get on. It's a weird dynamic, weird relationship, but it's business, isn't it? You know, but hopefully people will look out for him.
Talking about business, so reports that Canelo's leaving PBC, coming back to you. Now he's doing a fight with PBC. What on earth is going on there?
I don't know. I mean, we've only had a few conversations with him. He reached out to me, asked me to fly in and see him, which I did. Sat down with him and Eddie Reynoso. He had a multi-fight deal with PBC. You know, apparently it was off, then it was back on again. And Canelo's going to basically take the most amount of money he can. And if that's with us, fantastic. If that's with PBC, no problem. Munguia is with Golden Boy, who are exclusive to DAZN. So that's obviously a conversation that's got to be had as well. But we'll see. What I do know is it's 8 weeks on Saturday. So, you know, you got to get a move on. But I do think one way or the other, his next opponent will be Jaime Munguia.
I know you put something out about doing the Benavidez fight on DAZN. We saw Samson's comments on that. Thoughts?
We just said we won't do it on DAZN. And I said, well, how much do you want the fight? Like when you're fighting someone like Canelo Alvarez, really, you've got to do whatever it takes if you believe you can beat him. So, you know, a lot of people say a lot of things. Samson's a great guy. Benavidez is a great fighter. But, you know, to not take one fight on another platform to get the fight you apparently always wanted so badly, it's a bit weird.
So if Canelo did come back to Matchroom, putting away Benavidez after those comments, who could you...
Berlanga.
Yeah.
He's mandatory with the WBA. But also try and make those fights with Benavidez and the like. Bivol, once he beats Beterbiev, it's a big rematch over here.
That's a big if he beats Beterbiev, but...
Well, it's a 50-50 fight.
Yeah, indeed it is. Dillian White cleared, your reaction to that?
Yeah, I wasn't involved. I haven't spoken to him since he failed those tests in August. So, great for him to be back in the mix. I don't know what the board's stance is going to be, obviously, after their position with Conor Benn when he got cleared. But he lost the AJ fight and he'll want to get back in the mix. There's a big heavyweight scene here in Saudi Arabia and I'm sure he'll want to be a part of it.
Just lastly, bit of an out there question, but who are the top 5 biggest draws in British boxing?
British boxing?
Yeah, just British fighters.
So we're talking about, when you say draws, we're talking about ticket sales?
Everything, pay-per-view tickets.
Yeah, viewership.
Yeah.
Anthony Joshua. Tyson Fury. Conor Benn. Yeah. I mean, Irish, but Katie Taylor. And then you're like in the territory of Lee Wood.
Eubank.
Yep, Eubank. Josh Warrington. I mean, you talk about ticket sales. Like if Eubank boxes anybody, Lee Wood's going to outsell him at the gate. So is Josh Warrington. But there's always the demand to watch Eubank fight. So, you know, Lee Wood, Josh Warrington, Jack Catterall, I mean, all these guys, even Dalton Smith going on now, but I would put Eubank in the top 5 for sure.
Frank Smith said Anthony Yard at 5. Do you agree, disagree?
I really like Anthony Yard. I think he's really exciting. He couldn't do a gate unless he was fighting a Callum Smith or a Boazzi. So if you did Anthony Yard against someone from Italy, Germany, wherever it's, you know, how many tickets would he sell at Wembley Arena? That's you know, and not everyone's a ticket seller. Some people do a better viewership, but all round there's a package. But yeah, Anthony Yard, still a big name for British boxing, but I would have to put Eubank well above him.
Right, Eddie, thank you very much for your time early on this week. Friday night, live on DAZN worldwide, and of course Sky Sports box office as well in the UK. Do you just want to leave the people with a message? Joshua Ngannou, massive fight.
Don't forget, Friday night, live on DAZN, Joshua against Ngannou. It's one of them, but we get through it, and then we go and smash up Tyson Fury. Bosh.
Eddie and BoxNation, thank you very much.